Jemai, hello. My name is Susan Street and I'm the Head of Fitness to Practice at the Education Workforce Council, EWC. In this session, I'm going to talk to you about the Code of Professional Conduct and Practice, the Code, explain the reasons why we have one, why it's important, and provide you with some more detail about the 6 principles of the Code. For each principle, I will highlight the key expectations from the Code, as well as provide you with some short fitness to practice casework examples. These will look at registrants who were found to have behaved in a way which was in breach of those principles and therefore failed to maintain the standards expected of them. Before talking to you about these important issues, I want to make you aware that on the 1st of September 2025, we published an updated code. This followed an in-depth internal review and public consultation. The focus of our review was to make sure the code is relevant, accessible, and meaningful to all 13 categories of registrant we now regulate. We also introduced a new principle on leadership. We'll talk more about that later. So the first question is, why do we have a code? The answer is that the EWC is legally required to publish a code in legislation. Not only are we required to publish a code, we must also review it every 3 years, or if new categories of registration are added to the Register of Education Practitioners, that's known as the Register. The content of the code and any amendments to it are the product of consultation with our registrants and other stakeholders, including the public, professional associations and employers. We are not unique in having to publish a code. All professional regulators need to publish the standards of conduct and practice which are expected of their registrants. For example, the General Medical Council, the GMC, publishes a professional standards for good medical practice for doctors, and the Solicitors Regulation Authority, the SRA, publishes a code of conduct for solicitors. So this takes us on to answer the question, what does the code do? The answer is that it sets out the key principles of good conduct and practice expected of all EWC registered education practitioners in Wales. This means the code is not just for registrants, but for everyone involved in the education and training of learners and young people. The final question for us to answer in this session is, how are breaches of the code dealt with? To answer this question, I'm going to look more closely at the 6 key principles of the code and walk you through some short examples of where those principles have been breached. The first key principle is about personal and professional responsibility. This key principle is about recognizing personal responsibility as a role model, conducting relationships with learners and young people professionally, respectfully, and appropriately, and maintaining professional boundaries. This includes using all forms of communication responsibly, for example, social media. The case example I've used here relates to a teaching assistant who recorded themselves mocking a child with additional learning needs, and who then uploaded the recording to their personal social media account. The content this registrant posted online could have been available for anyone to view, copy, or share, exposing the identity of the vulnerable child. Due to the unacceptable behaviour, they also risked undermining the reputation of the education professions by anyone who viewed it. It was deliberate and involved serious lapses of judgment in first mocking the child, second videoing the behaviour, and then third sharing the video on social media. So to answer the question from the previous slide, how are breaches of the code dealt with? Once an independent committee has heard evidence and decided on the facts of a case, it considers which key principles of the code, if any, are relevant to the conduct. It must then decide which of those key principles identified have been breached. In this case, the committee identified the first key principle as being particularly relevant and felt that a suspension order for 12 months was appropriate. This means that the registrant was unable to continue to work in the school sector for that time and was also required by the committee to retrain. The second key principle is about professional integrity. This key principle is about registrants recognising the importance of being accountable for their conduct and professional competence, and to behave honestly, ethically, and with integrity. Without question, honesty and integrity are central tenets for all registrants. The public are naturally entitled to expect registrants to adhere to these fundamental principles. Where registrants are found to have behaved in a seriously dishonest manner, it is often the case that committees will decide only a high-level sanction, such as a prohibition order or a suspension order, is sufficient to protect learners, young people, and the public. This means a registrant may be removed from the register indefinitely. The case example I have used here relates to a teaching assistant who falsely claimed to several different potential employers to be a qualified school teacher. The committee found that this registrant had been misleading, dishonest, and lacking in professional integrity for a prolonged period of time, showing persistent and deceptive behaviour. The meaning of dishonesty is well understood. Lack of integrity is possibly less so. In regulatory proceedings, a person lacks integrity if they fail to behave morally, understand right and wrong, ethically, and professionally. This level of dishonesty led the committee to impose a prohibition order, the conduct involved being fundamentally incompatible with continuing to be a registrant. A prohibition order is the highest possible disciplinary sanction a committee can impose at a hearing. It removes the practitioner's eligibility to practice for at least 2 years, after which they can apply to be readmitted to the register. If no such application is made, the practitioner is prohibited indefinitely. On this occasion, the committee decided no application could be made for a minimum of 5 years, reflecting the seriousness of the conduct. The third key principle is about collaborative working. This key principle is about recognising the importance of respecting, supporting, and collaborating with colleagues, learners, and young people, and all those involved in the education and training of learners in a positive manner. The case example here relates to a further education lecturer who failed to treat colleagues with professional respect, as expected by the code. A practitioner with management responsibilities, this registrant fell below the standards expected of them in the way they treated their colleagues. The registrant did not trust them to do their jobs they were employed to do, continually questioning their professionalism and practice. The code makes clear that registrants must respect and support others. Behaviour such as bullying, harassment, swearing, or intimidation falls short of these standards. In this case, the committee felt that a reprimand for 2 years was appropriate. This means that the registrant was able to continue working in their sector as their registration was not affected. The fourth key principle, and this is a new key principle, is about leadership. This key principle is about the highest standards naturally expected by the public, learners and young people of those practitioners with management responsibilities. Due to this being a new principle, no practitioner in such a position has yet been found to have breached this principle of the code. That said, committees have heard many cases where, for example, head teachers have failed to discharge their responsibilities, including failing to lead by example, breaching professional boundaries, mismanaging finances, breaching policies and procedures, and failing to ensure the safety and well-being of learners, young people and staff. For such serious failings, committees have on occasion decided that the only way to protect learners, young people and the public is to remove the practitioner from the register indefinitely by imposing a prohibition order. The fifth key principle is about professional knowledge and understanding. This key principle is about taking responsibility for professional standards and knowing, understanding, and complying with policies, procedures, and guidelines which are relevant to practice. The case example here relates to a specialist teacher who failed to safeguard the emotional, mental, and physical well-being of children in line with their individual plans and local and national policies. It will be obvious that this is not appropriate or acceptable for anyone to behave like this, let alone an education practitioner trained and experienced in additional learning needs. The registrant also failed to show any insight into these serious failings. This led the committee to prohibit this registrant, the conduct involved being fundamentally incompatible with continuing to be a registrant. The sixth and final principle is about professional learning. This key principle is about demonstrating a commitment to keeping professional knowledge and skills up to date and taking steps to improve the quality of practice when necessary. The case example here relates to a school teacher who had failed to prepare and plan differentiated lessons for learners and failed to supervise learners mark their work regularly or to adhere to health and safety standards. In this case, the practitioner was prohibited with a finding of serious professional incompetence, meaning the levels of competence required to carry out the role of school teacher fell seriously short. Now we've looked at why we have a code and its key principles, I want to highlight a number of resources we have produced to help you to comply with the code and meet the standards expected of you. First, we have a series of good practice guides covering a wide range of topics, including using social media responsibly, tackling racism, and positive working relationships. Each guide relates to the specific principles within the code and offers practical guidance to help you in your day-to-day practice. We also offer free in-person or virtual training and workshops to our registrants and stakeholders on a range of topics, including the code. If that is something you're interested in for your organisation, just visit our website or send us an email. Our contact details will be available on the next slide. Our series of events, blogs and podcasts provide valuable insights and discussion on topics that matter to you as registrants, giving you the chance to stay informed and connected. News on these coming up are published regularly on our channel, so please keep an eye out for those. You can also access them on demand via our website and our YouTube channel. The Professional Learning Passport is a free resource available to all EWC registrants. It is packed with features designed to support you in capturing, reflecting, sharing and planning your learning, the aim being to help you shape your ongoing professional development and practice. And finally, there's EBSCO. This is available to all registrants and gives you access to a wide range of academic articles and research to support your practice. We publish monthly recommendations to EBSCO content via our book and journal club, Meddwl Mawr. You can sign up to that now via our website. We've added links to everything we have covered in this session today in the description of this video below, so please take a look. Thank you for listening to this session, and if you have any questions relating to what we've covered or our wider work, our contact details are on the screen now.